Growing up, WrestleMania main events were either a hit or a miss for me. I'm either fully invested in the storyline or whatever happens. How do you expect me to get hyped for Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns when we've seen it a million times already? If you're trying to finesse me out of my money, at least do it in a way that's not as obvious. Nigerian scammers and male gurus are well-known finessers, but their method still works to this day. But even though we've had some dark WrestleMania main events, we've also had a lot of great ones, like WrestleMania 26, Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. When I was younger, Shawn Michaels was one of my favorite superstars. He had entertaining matches, an awesome theme song, and his finisher on the playground was the go-to. The attitude adjustment, those boys were too big. The RKO, I always ended up on my back. The Swanton Bomb, forget about it. But the sweet chin music, you can hit on anyone, anytime, anywhere. So with all that in mind, when it was time for him to face The Undertaker at WrestleMania, I was already backing for him to win. So it all started off with Shawn Michaels versus Kozlov, where the winner faces The Undertaker at WrestleMania. But compared to Michaels, Kozlov was a 60 overall, brown shirt, no badges, no attributes, so it was an easy win for Michaels. Michaels won, and the match was set. Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25. And for 7-year-old me, this was a big moment because I wasn't old enough to witness their Attitude Era fights, and these two rarely interacted because they were on two different brands. So when I saw this match come together, it was like men from two different worlds fighting on some Batman versus Captain America type stuff. And going into this match, I was fully confident in Shawn Michaels because he's Mr. WrestleMania. He's done it all. And leading up to the match, he was winning all the mind games. So I was for sure Michaels was gonna be the 1 in 16-1. But then he lost. And I was like, oh, well dang. But he can bounce back, right? He's came back from worse. It's Shawn Michaels. He'll bounce back, right? Shawn Michaels will have a mental breakdown and go ghost for months, only for Triple H to find him as a chef, putting the fries in the bag for the 10-year-olds. Triple H would try to drag him out of this slump by uniting DX, but that didn't work because at the Slammy Awards, he challenged The Undertaker to a rematch at the next year's WrestleMania. Undertaker would respond with a no, and this left Shawn Michaels with two options. He could either take the L and go on with his life, or he can crash out, and guess which one he chose. Michaels left Undertaker with no choice but to face him at Mania. But Taker was not going to let Michaels ruin his life and get away with it because he wasn't going to fight him unless his career was on the line. And at this point, I was worried because for one, he wasn't in his right frame of mind. And two, if he loses, he's done. But despite all that, I was still backing for him to win. So the night comes, and Taker starts out the match on fire. And I'm watching it like, Shawn's cooked. We're about to get a repeat of last year. He's about to lose. But then Shawn hits him with the sweet chin music. And I'm yelling at Shawn to pin him. End the streak. Quickly, stop wasting time. But Taker kicks out. And after that, Shawn Michaels did everything he can to win. He did flips, submissions, moonsaults on the table, but this wasn't a one-sided beatdown. It was back and forth, and Undertaker was putting Shawn through it. Tombstone on the outside, last ride, choke slam, but it got to a point where you knew it was over. Michaels had pulled out all the stops, everything he had, and it didn't work. He was using Taker to hold himself up. He slaps him, and this angers Taker, and he hits him with a tombstone with some stank on it. 1, 2, 3, Michaels' career was done. No more sweet chin music, no more theme song. How am I supposed to feel like a sexy boy now? Now I have to look it up on YouTube and play it by myself like a psychopath. But you know what they say, what goes around comes around. But another interesting main event was WrestleMania 31, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. And I know what I said in the beginning, but hear me out first, hear me out. Going into this WrestleMania, I wasn't too crazy about the card. The matches weren't bad, but it wasn't anything crazy. The only matches that I had any interest in was the Intercontinental Ladder match because I found the concept of everybody stealing the title funny, and Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt because it was the match that I always wanted to see. It felt like we were watching father versus son. But even that, with the streak gone, it didn't feel as special as it could have been. And the other matches, Orton versus Rollins, Orton had just returned. It was cool to see him back, but it wasn't enough. Triple H versus Sting, it felt like a match more for the 90s fan than for so someone of my age. AJ and Paige versus the Bella Twins. I mean, I like the AJ and Paige dynamic, and then Cena versus Rusev. You could tell Cena was gonna win because it's John Cena. And the main event, going into it, I had no interest at all because Roman Reigns, of all people they could choose, they chose Roman Reigns. They could have had Dean Ambrose, Dolph Ziggler, Bo Dallas, but Roman, nobody wanted to see him win. He got booed standing next to The Rock. Do you know how hated you have to be to get booed standing next to The Rock in 2015? Plus, the build was terrible, but the show up to this point was valid. So even if the main event flopped, it would have been an alright show. In the match, Brock Lesnar was dominating. Any attempt Roman Reigns tried to have to gain momentum, it was squashed. It was like Roman was facing 2003, Here Comes the Pain Brock Lesnar. But eventually, Roman busts Brock Lesnar wide open, and that's when Roman started cooking. So far, this was a valid match, and at this point, I was laying down in a chair in the family living room watching it. But then all of a sudden, Rollins' music plays, and I sit up instantly as I watch Rollins sprint down to the ring with the Money in the Bank briefcase. And I'm thinking to myself, he's really cashing in right now. This is really happening. At WrestleMania, Rollins slides in the ring, cashes in his Money in the Bank, enters the match, wins it, and right there, I witnessed history. A cash in at WrestleMania. Never been done before. Also, this was the beginning of prime Seth Rollins. And the WrestleMania 31 main event is a main event you'll never forget. You've had main events in the past. Some of them you remember, some of them you don't. But a main event like this is a main event every wrestling fan will remember like it was yesterday. Another good main event was Reigns versus Edge versus Bryan at WrestleMania 37. This main event was special for multiple reasons. Edge was back in the world title picture. 10 years before, Edge had to retire because of injury, and this happened at the worst time because everybody was leaving. Shawn Michaels was gone, Triple H was done full time, Batista was gone, Matt Hardy was gone, Shelton Benjamin was gone, Chris Jericho, Carlito. It was like my childhood was slowly crumbling before me. But now, he's back. The same guy that took advantage of every opportunity he could, beating your favorite superstars. A guy that everybody hated, which I couldn't understand why. Yeah, he was one of the biggest Ruthless Aggression era heels, but not everything he did was bad. Like he helped a guy find out that his girlfriend was a cheater by cheating with said girlfriend. That has to count for something, right? He's also on the Mount Rushmore of World Heavyweight Championship. Edge, along with Undertaker, Batista, and Triple H, are the guys you think of when you think of the World Heavyweight Championship. So it was only right that he regained the world title that he never lost. And then there was Roman Reigns. This Roman was the Roman that we wanted all along. This version was tearing through everybody, collecting bodies. And this was the first WrestleMania with this new version. So you know we were getting an entirely different WrestleMania build. It wasn't going to be the same old, oh, I'm the big dog and I'm a conquer the bad guy and become champion. Like, nah, brother. The dog is dead. This is the tribal chief now. And he's here to take over. And Daniel Bryan. I remember at the time feeling like Daniel Bryan wasn't supposed to be in this match. Like, it was supposed to be Roman versus Edge, but then they decided to throw Daniel Bryan in there. And on top of that, this was also a different version of Daniel Bryan. This wasn't the same Daniel Bryan that led the Yes Movement, rising up against the authorities, trying to prove that he was more than a B-plus player, that he was world championship material. That Daniel Bryan looked like a wrestler who was the underdog. This Daniel Bryan looked like an accountant that wrestled part-time. Going into this match, I wanted Edge to win so he could become world champion and bring back some childhood nostalgia. So in the match, Jey Uso was interfering and super kicking everybody. Eventually, he'd get canceled out and all the focus would be on Bryan, Reigns, and Edge. And each superstar had a big moment sometime during the match. And eventually, it would get to a point where Edge would bring out his favorite weapon, the steel chair. Triple H had the sledgehammer, Sam had the buttersock, and Edge had the steel chair. So Edge hits a concerto to Bryan, and he was gonna do the same thing to Roman, but then Jey Uso interfered, and this cost him, because it gave Roman enough time to get up, hit Edge with the spear, hit him with his own move, the concerto, and pin Bryan and Edge to retain the belt. This main event was the best main event since WrestleMania 31. There wasn't a dull moment in the match. Unfortunately, Edge didn't win, but at least it wasn't a bad match. So, In summary, WrestleMania main events are the defining moments of a WrestleMania. Obviously, like this one match could overshadow an entire card full of spectacular matches. But luckily for us, that rarely happens. And more times than not, we'll end up being witnesses to some of the best matches in WWE history.